We are coming on the air with breaking news out of Florida right now. A federal jury has just handed down a guilty verdict in the trial of Ryan Routh. You may remember he's the man accused of trying to assassinate Donald Trump on his Florida golf course last September. The jury found Routh guilty on all 5 counts after deliberating for just over 2 hours. Those charges include attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate, assaulting a federal officer, and several firearm violations. Routh had pleaded not guilty and faces the possibility of life in prison. He also chose to defend himself. As you'll remember, this incident happened just weeks after the unrelated attempted assassination of then candidate Trump at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. I want to get straight to Aaron Gilchrist, who joins us outside the courthouse there in Fort Pierce, Florida. Aaron, the evidence in this case was overwhelming.
Hundreds of pieces of evidence, Tom, presented by the prosecution here in Fort Pierce, Florida, and that ultimately was evidence that the jury thought corroborated the accusations against Ryan Routh, enough so that they found him guilty on all 5 of the charges against him. And if we go through some of the charges here, the first charge, the most serious charge, was attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate. Obviously, then candidate Trump was golfing at his golf course in West Palm Beach on September 15th of last year when this incident happened. The second charge, possession of a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence. The accusation was that Routh had a semi-automatic rifle, an SKS rifle, that was found in the tree line outside the Trump golf course. The third charge, assaulting a federal officer. That's in reference to the Secret Service officer, agent rather, who spotted Routh and that rifle in the tree line, pointed through a fence, and the prosecution said that just by impeding in that officer's ability to do his job, that was tantamount to assaulting a federal officer. The fourth charge, felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition. Routh had been convicted of felonies in North Carolina several years back. And the fifth charge, possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. In several instances, prosecutors said the serial number on that rifle had been either pounded out or scratched through in some way, obliterated. And so the jury believed that all 5 of those things were true in offering this guilty verdict on all 5 of the charges. Routh presented a 55-minute closing argument here in front of the jury, one that was disjointed at points, was rambling at points, was repetitive as well. And during that argument, he tried to make the case that he did not have the capacity and the character to kill, and that he didn't have the intent to kill, and therefore couldn't be found guilty of that attempted assassination charge. He said, if you don't have the cold heart to make it happen, is that intent? Hard to believe the crime was there if the trigger was never pulled. All him trying to make the case to the jury that they should find him not guilty in this case. The prosecution, though, presented 38 witnesses over the course of 8 days with evidence about DNA having been found on parts of the weapon, fingerprints having been found on parts of the weapon. They went back through cell phone records and said that Ryan Routh was obsessed with trying to kill Donald Trump at that time, referencing 17 occasions when he did surveillance and reconnaissance of the golf club. And all that evidence, Tom, obviously at this point something that the jury thought was credible, finding him guilty on all 5 of the charges.
Aaron, stand by for us because I want to bring in NBC National Law Enforcement Intelligence correspondent Tom Winter and Misty Maris, a defense attorney. She's also an NBC News legal analyst. Misty, I'm going to start with you. Besides defending himself in court, which is pretty much impossible to do and win your case, as we mentioned, the evidence was overwhelming in this case, including a confession letter, including the weapon that he used to fire on the president. They pretty much had everything, including eyewitnesses.
Yeah, you had electronics, you had a digital trail, you had a witness who actually was able to get the license plate and make of the car, took a video of that. You had a tremendous amount of evidence in this case pointing right back to Routh. So it was a uphill battle for the defendant, even if there was an attorney who was representing him. Of course, representing yourself, that is a very, very difficult hurdle. The old adage, the person that represents themselves is a fool for a client. But I will say, Tom, from a prosecutor's perspective, it's a bit of a nightmare. And that's because you're dealing with arguments that really aren't embedded in the law. He was representing himself. He was cross-examining witnesses, making statements that are not evidence, but you still have to deal with them. The jury's going to hear them. And then, of course, there's potential appellate issues, given that every evidentiary decision would always be under scrutiny. But when you have someone representing themselves, there's that extra level relating to the defendant's rights. So not a surprise to see the outcome here, but certainly was an interesting case to follow.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.